In today's episode of Connecting Dots, we are with Mr. Thomas Ramapuram, who is the director of Evolve Bag Hotels and Resort. And this entire resort company has built some very famous, very nice, big resorts. And it has been inspiration for a lot of people to go visit and see these kind of resorts, which are already there in India in some places. My favorite one is from the Kurk. Let's hear from Mr. Thomas what is all about Evolve Back, how it has came into existence, and what they're doing right now. Hi, sir. How are you?
Hello, Prashant. Thank you very much for inviting me for this podcast.
Thank you for coming, sir. So, what is the history behind Evolve Back?
Right. Evolve Pack actually started off as a hotel company. Actually, we started off with our famous brand name called Orange County.
Mm-hmm.
To take you back to its origins, we're a family-run business, and my grandfather and my father, we had plantations in Coorg. So in Coorg, which is the coffee-growing area of India, we in our own private plantation, we decided to clear up a small part of it and build a 10-room cottage resort, which at that time we called Orange County because there were a lot of oranges in Coorg as well. And so that's how we started in 1994.
1994.
Yeah, 1994. So we're going to become a 30-year-old company next year. And so now we have 4 properties, 3 in India and 1 in Botswana and Africa.
So, what is the connection of Africa to India now?
No, look, as we grew as a company, as more and more people got involved, and as we got more international exposure, we went to international events and everything. So we also wanted to expand. We didn't want to stay with just one property. So not only Africa, we were looking at different places. We looked at properties in Oman. We looked at properties in the Maldives. And then we came across this lovely property in Botswana, which is right in the middle of the jungle. It's a 30,000-acre private game reserve. You only have 10 tents. And I think Africa is the most premium hotel destination in the world, where prices are $2,000 a night. And that's the normal price. But that's the experience you get. You have a lion just outside your tent. You're going inside. You're living in the middle of the jungle. It's a 30,000-acre private forest that you have, that the government has given you on lease. So the African wildlife experience is a whole new ballgame, and it's totally different. That's something we've been realized since 2019.
And all your resorts are huge in size. Huge.
Yeah.
And how do you come to this conclusion that we will have this big size of a land and then run a resort on it? Because a lot of people, for them, it is very difficult to manage all of this.
I won't say it's huge, because in the luxury segment for us, we try to keep our room inventory at about 50 to 60. That's our sweet spot, because you get more than that. You go to 100 rooms. One of the deliverables is peace and quiet and privacy, and you want to come for a honeymoon. You don't want to be standing in line in a buffet. And we try to give that boutique experience. So we try to give that 50 to 60 rooms as our sweet spot, which we try to maintain. Yes, huge in terms of area.
Yeah, that's what
we'll have huge area, but each person has that much more space. Each guest has, that much more space in our property to get that luxury experience. So we are very much in the boutique luxury space. We're selling rooms at 30 to 40,000 rupees a night here in India, and at that price, you need to give guests something else, something different, and that's how we operate in all our properties.
What is the average age of any Evolve Back hotel?
The average age, we only have 4 hotels.
Yeah.
So literally the oldest one, like I said, is 30 years old. And then we started Kabini, which is a wildlife property in Karnataka itself. That was started in 2009. So till today, that's about 14 years old, right? That's how much it is. And Hampi was started in 2016. So that's another 8 years old property.
And how much time does if you want to build a new Evolve Back tomorrow, how much time does it take for one resort to come up and ready for public?
Actually, that's what we were discussing just before we came on to the building a hotel by itself from start to finish does not take that much time. You can build like Hampi, which is a palace-style property. I think you can finish it once the construction begins. You can finish it in a year and a half, which I feel is a good pace. But the main issue or the main delay would be the permissions that you require, right? You say in Hampi, you need permission from the Archaeological Survey of India, you need permission from the forest, you need permission from the Environment Ministry, and you have a whole lot of permissions that you require. which can take up to 3 or 4 years just to start construction from the time you actually acquire the land, to construction. So it takes a bit of time.
Like I've seen a lot of pictures on Instagram and on Google. I was just trying to study all of this. It's a beautiful way to showcase a resort, whereas you are very environmental friendly, sustainability, and I can look at this to say that there's less of brands who are doing this. Where do you drive the inspiration to build these kind of resorts?
Sustainability has been, at the heart of our strategy actually, because we believe that hotels by itself are not very environment friendly. You have a lot of imprint on the environment, and that too in such environmentally fragile places. Going to a place like Kabini, which is an eco-sensitive zone. It's in the Western Ghats. Western Ghats itself is a UNESCO World Heritage Site for a reason that it is so fragile. And you're going and building a hotel, they're bringing in people. So on the face of it, it looks like a very not a very environmentally friendly operation. But, as being farmers itself, we've always been striving for sustainability. We need to use nature in a way that it is sustainable. And we have so many initiatives. We have an entire department on sustainability, and we have so many initiatives that drive so that we leave a minimal imprint on the environment. It's very difficult to leave a zero imprint, but we try to leave a minimal imprint in terms of our waste management. Like, for example, we do not use any plastic water bottles in any of our properties. It's all driven by RO, reverse osmosis. So we have waste disposal. We have an entire document on all the environmentally friendly practices that we do. If you go to Hampi, you see a palace, but on the topmost level of the palace, what you cannot see is a whole terrace full of solar panels. So a lot of our electricity needs are through solar, and that's our So we've also got like an award in ITB Berlin from National Geographic for sustainability. We've got a couple of awards for sustainability, and that's going to remain a key focus area, for us, sustainability.
I think this is one thing that make you stand out from any other brand which is only looking for the profit, turning around into more money. Okay. So let's talk about more in detail about, are you planning to expand this? How much more Evolve Back Resort are we looking forward to come in next 5 years?
Yes, Prashant, for sure we have to expand. We cannot remain stagnant. We have a vibrant team. We're looking at expanding into more properties and getting the scale. So like I said, we were very happy with our first international expansion in Botswana. It's an amazing property. It's right in the middle of the jungle, and it's so far away. I take about a day and a half to reach there. And other than that, we are coming up with one of the properties close to where you are in Mandu, which we feel is an amazing historic and heritage site. That's going to be our next one. We have another one planned in Karwar, which is just south of Goa. That is it's in Karnataka. It's just south of Goa. It's much less crowded than Goa. It's off the beaten path. So we go to places like that. And not the typical places which are already saturated. We go to places like that, like Mandu. There are no great hotels there. Or we go to Karwar. We've also acquired land very close to Paro in Bhutan as well. So we have a couple of these places already lined up, and in the next 5 years, I would say between Karwar and Mandu and Paro, we should have another 3 more properties, God willing. We should have that many more properties.
Same kind of a setup, the bigger the land size?
Yes, sir, of course. I mean, we only know how to run hotels one way. We don't know the mid-budget or the budget way of running a hotel. We know only the ultra-luxury space where, it's going to be really, really high-end. In Mandu, every room is going to come with its own swimming pool. And, it's going to be a minimum of 1,000 square feet, and it's going to have services like that. And that's evolved back, over 30 years. That's the business we feel we are most competent to do. We don't want to go into any lower end kind of a business. We are in the boutique luxury segment, and that's the kind of we know that clientele, we know what they want, we're competent enough to service them.
And what is the vision of Evolve Back, let's say after, like it's a generational which is running this entire company. So from your grandfather to father to now, and then probably the next generation will take over. What are you going to leave as a vision for them? So next generation to come, when they will come and hold the business and start running it, what is the vision that you're going to set it for them?
It's very difficult to think too far ahead, but I'm just very, very proud and very have so much gratitude for our older generations. Like I was just telling you before, that it's my father's generation, my grandfather, mostly my father's generation, who decided to venture into this, which at that time was looking like not such a great idea, because they said, we're planters, we're agriculturists, we're used to that kind of life, we're used to cultivating coffee and selling it, and then to get into this business which we know nothing about. And they went through so many difficult times, and then over 30 years there have been so many ups and downs, and they've built a brand that we can all be very proud of. At the second generation that's coming, that's me, my brother, my cousins, all of them are in the business. They're all somewhere here in this thing. We're all we have a lot of gratitude for our older generation, and a lot of respect for them. And for the future, I don't know, my children are there, my brother's children are there. What we're going to leave for them, we've not thought that much. We're thinking in the next 5 years what we want to do, and we just hope that the legacy of Evolve Back and the legacy of our family will be carried on by future generations as well.
I think one thing that I can look and relate to, Oberoi's has left the legacy, and it will continue to, because they have set the vision for very clear. They want to be in a luxury space, and they don't want to become a crowded brand. They will do a selection of hotels, and they will continue working on this. I see Evolve Back near to this kind of setup, because as you mentioned that you will only have one way to run a hotel. And if that is the thing, I think this is the right direction for the future generation as well. Do you feel the kind of a setup that you have? I don't want you to compare with anyone, but how close that you see any other brand to be, you can actually draw a line and say, okay, this is something that we can relate to for Evolve Back.
Yeah, it's good that you mentioned Oberoi. I'm a big fan of Oberoi hotels. I've been to some of their properties, of course, and they've really married that. Of course, they're very ultra high-end luxury. You sometimes to these high-end luxury, you tend to get intimidated. You're going there and everything is the same. But when you actually go to a Oberoi Vanivalas, I've been there, and you can see the down-to-earth thing of even the GM there. And, so if I have to compare, I would think that I hope we can compare ourselves to an Oberoi, hotels. Like you said, if you actually see the Oberoi here in Bangalore, right? They have this rule. They will not take banquets. I mean, you would think that how can any city hotel survive without banqueting? Because banqueting is a huge revenue. But then when you go to an Oberoi, as opposed to any other hotel, any other 5-star hotel, you don't get that crowd. You don't have that, that feeling that there is just too many people, and there is, you're waiting in queue and everything. You get that sense of peace. And I feel even in a city hotel, they've managed to do that, and I feel I have a lot of respect for the Oberoi, the family, the way they run their hotels. It's their Udayavilas is outstanding property, and we've taken a few lessons of that to our property in Hampi as well. Because when we were building a palace style property, we were so used to this Kerala, we're a Kerala kind of family, this green and this, the coffee and the wildlife. We know that, but suddenly when you're building a heritage property, the first heritage property in Karnataka, a high-end heritage property, you only see that in Rajasthan. The palaces. Yes. They know how to run those hotels. Running a heritage property is very different from running a palace style. I mean, a wildlife property or a property in a coffee plantation. So we have a lot of respect for Oberoi and the way they do things, and that you compared us to them.
Taken some elements from them as well. You have taken elements from Oberoi as well.
A little bit. I won't say too much. We try to have our own identity, but we always look at other, properties which we can compare ourselves. And when you said, I think we can, if we want to be, we want to take all the good things from Oberoi hotels. Yeah.
So one more brand that come into my head is Aman, which is far more above on the level where I think they don't compare. I don't draw comparison to any other hotel, but there's a lot of things that they are doing equally good in terms of this space, and they have grown big, very big. So what is your thought about looking at Aman and versus what you're building right now? Is there any space that you want to reach there and be at the space?
Yeah, I mean, I've been to some of the Aman properties as well. I've been, of course, very high end and really the same. But I feel we're operating in two different kind of segments. Aman, I mean, they have the most fabulous properties and the most fabulous locations, and but there are certain service elements that we're different. I won't say they're bad or we're this thing. We're very different. That way, Oberoi comes closer. It's an Indian hotel company. Maybe that's our cultural connect to an Oberoi as opposed to an Aman. So that we're looking more at an Oberoi. We know what Aman is, and we know the kind of properties, but we are quite different from them. And we look at them for some of their positive things, but we look at us as we have a different vision and a different place to reach.
How do you manage the guest satisfaction and the operation for such large properties?
Oh yeah, it's a question that'll take some time to answer. So you have guests coming in, right? And they're paying a premium to come and stay with us. So obviously they have that expectation, that high level of expectation.
Value for money.
Value for money. And yeah, like you said, I mean, the premium guests are not budget conscious. They're not budget conscious, but they are value conscious. They're not just they didn't become a high-end customer just by throwing money everywhere and everything. They don't mind paying 40 or 50 grand a night, so long as, like you rightly said, you give value for that 40 or 50 grand a night. So they're not budget, they're not going to bargain with you or anything. But when they come, they want to get that kind of experience. And giving that kind of experience is a complex. It takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of teamwork. I think what we've been blessed with there, but like I was telling you before the interview again, is our family way of doing business in terms of our operations team. For example, in Coorg itself, we're a 60-room property, but we have 5 staff per room, as in we have 300 staff working there, and because it's spread across quite a large area, you need to take care of the guest services and everything. And our family, like my uncle, everybody, talking to them, telling them they've all been there with us for 10-15 years. So when you see the age of our employees, they've all been with us a long time. So our culture, it's all culture, our hospitality culture, our training, more than any formalized training, they know, how to take care of a guest. They know that, this is the way they've seen my uncles take care of the guests. So there's a lot of family employees, like our GM in Kabini, for example. Her name is Kanti. She was our day one employee, one of our first 2 employees in 1994. She joined us in Coorg, and now she's the GM at Kabini. She joined us as an accountant. So, but she's been there for so long now, she knows everything about operations. She knows everything, and she's the general manager at Kabini, which is now a world-class property. So you have people like this, when you get your operations correct in a hotel, I think there's a lot of scope for getting good premium, because your operations are your heart of the hotel. And one of the things we've done is our family culture has gone into even the last person of that operations team. I mean, they take care of your guests and, live the vision, what what Evolve Back has to give. Then you get
I think that examples resonate with me, because I have seen a lot of people coming from non-hospitality background, but traditionally people look at hoteliers as that you should be studying from IHM, you should have a prior hotel experience. But I think as a hotel, as industry, you don't require much of technical knowledge per se, but if you're very passionate about it, this comes automatically to you. And like you said, someone was an accountant, now it's a GM. If you go out in traditional hotel way, you should be front office, you should be there, HM, and then. So the future, I think there was a crisis of hospitality management professional which was existing during COVID, and post-COVID now it is recovering, but that has still been a stage. So I've seen a lot of openings around, people are not finding good people. How are you filling it up? Because I can understand there are people, the array of people who are working with you for longer amount of time, but there will be time that you will need more people because you're expanding.
Correct.
And all of these people, if you look at, there is already scarcity with the brands like Marriott, Hyatt, Accor. They are also searching for people because they are expanding in a huge number in India. So they will have more people coming and joining you. How is your approach towards the manpower, resource management? What you guys are doing for it?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, being a growing company, right, you have various experts coming and telling you, that, this is the way to run. You need to get professional people to, come and run. We've learned it the hard way. We've taken people from who reached a certain level in a big brand. We've brought them here, and then we realized the culture fit, sometimes does not work. They say that, you're running as a family-run company. That's great. You cannot have an accountant as your general manager. He or she does not have the typical skills that you're looking at, in a hotel. So we get somebody who's had like 20 years of experience with some big brand. We bring them here, and then we realize that, it's difficult. I mean, both of us, it's not a certain thing. So we look at cultural fit, actually, we're this family-run company. There are many things that we do. If we don't find somebody, just as an example, if we don't find someone who's not good at a particular work, our approach is to try to save that person either by training or moving him to another department, or at least keeping him, because to send someone off is, it just doesn't, we can't do it. It's not.
And that also, it's an easy option to.
Yeah, it's an easy and merit-based or totally capitalist. I mean, that would be the thing to do. Someone's not doing well, move them out and bring in the person who will be there. But we keep them. And so because of that, we have a lot of load on our personnel. We have people here, but then we believe in a little bit that way, heart over mind, so that we take care of our people, and we try to take care to the best of our abilities. So we keep that, and we have that different culture, which when somebody comes from outside, it's just doesn't gel with them. They can't do it. So what we try to do is we try to take people early and try to get them into our culture. So by the time they reach about 5 or 10, they know our thing. They're within our family. Like, for example, they know my dad, and they know him, and they know they know my uncles. By the time they reach front office and once they reach like a FME manager or anything, just so much into the family, and we try to do that. But like you rightly said, I mean, when you grow bigger and bigger, it's very difficult for that to go on. But till now, we've been doing that well, and we hope, and not that we are without challenges. We had the same manpower crisis that happened in post-COVID, when there was a lot of thing. But this is our approach towards personnel, here.
I was doing this podcast with Mohit from Ananta. He's the third generation running up the hotel business. They built up the entire institute for themselves.
Okay.
And they train people, and there is 100% placement because they are going to hire you. And they from the starting of training them, they are building the Ananta culture there. And I said, God, you have built entire ecosystem, and now you can expand as much you want, because you will not have problem. And I think while I was building the company, I did the same thing. I said, I will not go after the hoteliers. I will make hoteliers, because I myself is a computer science graduate. And look at you, you come from an economics background.
Yeah.
And we are the bad hoteliers. No, we have made good fortune for ourselves. We are making great moves. And this mindset, I think there's a huge amount of mindset which is out there in hospitality, that you need to be from this background to run a great hotel. I think people who are from not an hospitality background have created a bigger brands, likes of Leela, likes of Oberoi, likes of Evolve Back, and you guys have done in a way where everyone other, even the international companies, are taking aspirations from you. They're inspired.
We hope so.
Yeah, I'm telling you, this is the fact. So what is your strategy in terms of building a brand? So one is product, other one is guest satisfaction. What is the new age thing that you are doing so that people can recall Evolve Back for longer?
Yeah, so, as a brand, we'd like to stand for something, guests would like to look at an Evolve Back holiday, and it has to mean something more than just a room. And, so from a long time, that's come through experience. It's come through going to these global fairs, bringing in outside people to advise us, because as a family-run business, our board meetings are usually my uncle, my father, and everybody, and we decide something is this, and then we go ahead. Then somebody came and told us, you should get outside perspective. You should get people from outside. So we've had some very good outside mentors. We've had the directors of the ex-directors of Kirloskar and all that. Now they're all gone out. But I used to be here as a college kid in the board meetings. They used to come and they used to say, don't do this. This is not the way you should be. Because we used to go into every little nitty-gritty of everything. Into accounts. They used to say that belongs to the professionals. Get professionals, and you do entrepreneurship. And we used to do that. So we used to get a lot of through our growth stage. We used to get a lot of good, very high quality outside, which helped us a lot to grow where we are, to think a bit bigger, to think a bit macro than our own, within our own confines. So basically, to talk about the vision. So that's how the vision came about. We got outside people who said we should have a vision. We should have something that Evolve Back stands for. So actually our tagline says Spirit of the Land. So Spirit of the Land means that when you go into Evolve Back, we want to leave you, of course it's a holiday, you go have fun and you go relax, but we want to leave you a bit more educated about that place than when you came into that property. So in Coorg, you'd have like, it's that colonial, kind of history, the coffee colonial history that we try to give you. So we have a coffee museum. We have, these walks into the coffee plantation, talk to you about coffee cultivation. So it's also about the experiences that we give. I mean, of course, you need to have a great room with a lovely swimming pool. You need to have great food. You need to have amazing service. But we also look at these experiences, in everywhere. So in Hampi, for example, you're going into the heart of the Vijayanagara kingdom. You don't want to just go there, have a palace experience and come back, or you don't want to just drive into the monuments and come back. We have a team of guides there who are going to bring that palace alive, who are going to bring Hampi alive. It's a Vijayanagara kingdom. They ruled India for about 200 years. There are 30 kings. There's so many monuments. Each of those monuments have a certain significance. So you need someone to really, when you leave Hampi, you should be enriched about Hampi. You should know what this kingdom was, who were the kings, who were the main kings, and what it was, and get that experience of Hampi. So that's an experience that we try to give. In the Kalahari, it's the Kalahari Night Skies experience. That's in Botswana. So it's all about that experience, and that's what we want Brand Evolve back to stand for. Other than, of course, the room which are hygiene factors, I think, right now. The room and the food and everything, which obviously needs to be at a very high standard. But this is what we try to give a little more.
I think you have made me educated about Hampi.
Yeah, you should make a visit. It's just 6 hours from here. It's an amazing place, and you'll be surprised how many people don't know about Hampi who are here in Bangalore, who've been in Bangalore for maybe 20, 30 years. They've not made the trip to Hampi.
I only know that there was a Hyatt in Hampi. And when I was in Hyatt, I said, why they are opening a hotel in Hampi? So this brings me to this topic, that how you choose location. Really, I want to know that when you choose a location, there is some history and all of this. What goes in your head when you say, okay, this is the place I want to make a hotel or a resort?
Yeah, so basically, because our vision is so clear, what we want to give to our final guest, since we start at that level, choosing locations comes like kind of automatically from that. We want to give the guest a very rich experience. We want to not just live to the standard, kind of room and food. We want to give them this rich experience. So we'll look at a couple of things before we get into it, whether that place is a little unspoiled, whether it is, whether it can give that guest that, life-changing experience, that amazing experience that he remembers even 1 or 2 years after he finishes the holiday. So there are various such factors that go into actually choosing a location where we want to give them that amazing experience, other than just the room and the food that we're trying to.
Is there any location that you dream of that I'm still looking for that location? If I get something, I'll hop onto it.
Yeah, the world is big. Yes, of course. Mike, though I've not personally been there, and it's probably, when you look at it, it's a destination that's already overcrowded. But then what my family says, I mean, we're looking at it right now, is Maldives. With even the 1,000 properties that are there are still a lot of scope there for amazing experiences with private islands and things like that. So in the Maldives, we're hoping something comes up over there where we can give our guests that amazing experience. Other than that, Botswana is a typical thing. Usually African holidays, usually South Africa. When you talk to a general population here, that's South Africa. Botswana is a small little landlocked country, just not in the north of South Africa, and you have some amazing experiences there. Like I said, these kind of wildlife experiences where you could be just sitting in your pool, and just right there you have a water hole where you have animals coming, and there's zero man-animal conflict there. There's absolutely nothing, and I've learned a lot of lessons from African wildlife, what we can do for our Indian wildlife, which is also very, very good. I mean, the experiences in Kabini or Kana or Bandhavgarh are also very, very good. But the African wildlife experience is something else. You need to have those kind of experiences where people are willing to shell out $2,000 a night for that kind of experience. Yeah.
So we are going to see more wildlife resorts coming up soon.
I hope so, Prashant. I mean, the whole point of going into a country like Botswana is to build a chain of lodges there.
Wow.
You can't survive with just one lodge. There's no scale.
Yeah.
You need to have like a kind of sector, and you need to have a couple of properties there. But it's all we have plans. How it turns out, we need to get the right kind of land, the right kind of environment to start building properties.
I would not go into details in terms of finances, but I would love to know this, that if I have to start, for example, or anyone have to start a evolve back kind of a setup, how many hotel, how many resort that you should build that you will feel that, okay, I'm earning money to make more?
It's I mean, money wise, we're still profitable even with these four kind of things. But we obviously want to grow and grow bigger and everything. The challenge for evolve back kind of a hotel, like a family-run property like ours, is something like when you grow too big is when that the 10th hotel, if for example the experience gets diluted, because as a family you only have a certain amount of manpower and everything, whether that the 10th and the 12th or the 15th hotel, by the time you go there, whether that experience there gets diluted because you do not have enough people there, so that kind of thing. So at this point in time, we feel confident with about like 10 hotels we should be able to, and each of those hotels should be getting us good enough revenue that per room night, though the 10 doesn't look like a big number, but the per room night revenue should be
very high,
very high to be able to sustain sustain the operations going forward. So for a family business like ours, but then we have plans for the future as well. Even a family business can actually run successful hotels of like 20 or 30. Even like Oberoi's, I think, come to memory, has about 35 hotels. They have one in Morocco as well. They have all over, and they're doing a fabulous job of everything. So there's a way to do everything. But at our stage, at Evolve Pack stage, we're looking at the next milestone as maybe 10 hotels to be able to run it in a manner that we want. After that, it depends on how we're able to grow further from there.
So I do agree when it comes to expanding. There is a lot of thing which is required other than just building a nice property. So expansions bring few problems, which is that you dilute your experience, because you Evolve Back is a very personal experience, and when you expand, you have to build SOPs. And when SOPs comes in place, so every guest will get the same kind of treatment.
Correct.
And that is not what people are looking at when they are paying 50,000 rupees, 40,000 rupees a night. They want that personal experience to be there. Do you think that anyhow, is there anything that I'm still looking at? I was talking to someone, owner of Postcard Hotel. We were talking to Tree of Life. And Himmat Anand said that, Prashant, I don't want to grow this business because I know what I'm going to lose.
Okay.
And if this scales, trust me, I'll not be there. Someone else will be running Tree of Life. And what is your thought that scaling a business is good, or is it sustaining a business is good?
No, I would want to scale, because there's no.
That's young generation.
We would want to scale. We don't want to. I think it's more about finding the right formula to scale. As in, I think even a family business can scale. We don't need to remain at 7 or 8 or 10. We just need to, it's a challenge, of course. Getting your family culture to that 15th hotel is a challenge, but no challenge is so big that you cannot overcome it. If you have a good team, if you have a strong team, there are ways and solutions to, everything. And you mentioned SOPs. Though we are a family business, we have SOPs, because without SOPs, we cannot, cannot operate. Like, for example, in Africa, it was so far away. Our SOP, a family-based SOPs is what gets our family culture there. So there's a way to move that culture in a kind of professional manner there also. Not everything is run like a mom and pop store. It's not like that. We still have very good SOPs. We are ISO certified and we have those things. I think it's to have a balance between the two. You can't only say we're a family business and we'll do everything on the fly, and it depends on, the housekeeping person there. He knows a bit of culture. No, he still has a checklist of things to do in a room, and that is still there. So the professionalism is still required in a family-based hotel, and those SOPs are still required. It's just that the culture of the family also needs to come in along with those SOPs. So both of it is very important in a family. It's like technology, right? I mean, for a company like us, if you see, I would say it's called a phygital, as in physical and digital. As in you need to have a bit of physical, you need to have digital. You can't go either extreme. If it's fully digital, and all my customers are only going to be booking online, they're only going to book through an OTA. About 70% of my customers still like to pick up the phone, because you're spending 30,000, 40,000 rupees on a holiday.
Exactly.
Into 3. They want to talk to someone. What can I do there? I'm coming from a honeymoon.
Yes.
Can you make a nice dinner for me? What are your ideas for a nice coracle ride in the Kaveri River? They like to have that. Now, no amount of however good your booking engine is,
No.
can actually solve that. So that's why my team, I was just showing you before you came here, they're talking to guests. They still like to, there is a certain amount. There are the younger guys, who might just like, or who are so familiar with the brand, who just go online. So there's a space for everybody. But for a boutique luxury property like ours, there is that phone call and that talking to a person is still a very crucial aspect of planning their holiday. We need to make that distinction. And if we only go the online and the OT and the booking.com way, I think we stand to lose a big chunk of our,
I do agree with you in this because I have seen luxury hotel center reservations versus lemon tree center reservation. So average call time on a city hotel for a lemon tree will be 3 to 5 minutes.
Okay.
Because a person is calling that I want to book a room at Bangalore at this hotel. Sorted. But if someone is trying to book Leela Chanakpuri, he would like to know the club room access, my BMW pickup, and all of this. And when you comes to experiential stay, now this needs a longer conversation. So average handling time of Leela would be 15 minutes.
Right.
And when it go to one villas to other, they will be 20 minutes, 15. So this is package for 5 minutes. You call Ananta, they will take your call for 25 minutes. They will explain you that, listen, we'll give you the clothes. So you have to wear this kurta pajama, you have to give us a size, there's no kid allowed. All of this is that there's wellness. So I think you are right. I think this is the way forward for luxury. The people interaction are more, and this is a good thing that you guys are understanding this and doing it, because if that goes out of window, the experience from the very first call gets spoiled. So are you guys also doing anything on the wellness part?
We have a spa in all our, a very nice spa in all our properties, and but we stop at that. I mean, we're not fully into wellness. We're still a leisure brand. Where you come for your honeymoon, you come for your holiday, and you could also, experience a spa. So as wellness, we're not into the proper wellness like Ananda or anything like that, where you come there for a 10-day treatment. We are not venturing into that space. Not at the moment, at least.
Is there any space that you guys are venturing in? Because I know that plantation is there, real estate is there, hotel is there, what else?
So as a group, as a family group, I mean, of course, we have a hospitality, which is Evolved Pack brand. We also have a real estate division, which is, we have this lovely property in Wayanad in Kerala, in northern Kerala, where we've built these villas, up for sale. And so when you buy a villa in Wayanad, it's like a second home for someone. And they give it back to us to rent as a...
Lease back?
To sell as a holiday home, like for people to come and stay. So it's a lovely 3-bedroom villa, and you can rent it for a night. So that's a revenue sharing between the owner and us.
I think this is the same model Ananda works on. So they build a villa, they sell it down, and they lease it back, and they sell it like a hotel. So basically, they will give a rent to the owners.
Right.
And at some point of time, they can always go back and purchase it from them.
Right.
So I was talking to them. They have in Udaipur, they do this. So they sell it to you for X amount, and then if they come purchase back from you from the higher amount, that is already there.
Correct.
So you guys are getting into this domain.
Not in that one is like, for example, Six Senses does that, whatever you're speaking. But we're not going to do that with Evolved Back. Evolved Back is purely us. You can't buy one of the rooms in Evolved Back.
Okay.
Say, for example, these are proper villas which you buy as a second home, which you can come there. But when you're using your second home only for like maybe 4 weeks a year or 5 weeks a year, the rest of the year it's empty. So we take it back from them, and because of our expertise in hospitality, we have the clients to there as well. So that's one model that we are.
So you guys going to expand that model as well?
We're thinking about it slowly, because we've bought some land in Coorg as well for a villas, because there's a lot of demand for second living, and we don't give this crowded gated community kind of thing. Each of those villas will be inside a 10-acre property.
Wow.
So you buy this villa, and somebody from Bangalore has that as a second home. So that's the real estate part of it that we are.
So will it be also a part of hospitality division for you?
So that's what we've tried to leverage in terms of, there's a real estate division who are very good architects. My younger brother is an architect, my uncle is an architect, and they build these amazing villas. But to run it as a hospitality, we expect to draw in an Evolved Back's competence of running high-end hospitality. So building a villa and giving it as one type of the business, and then actually selling it on a day-to-day basis to clients, that's another business. That's a hospitality which Evolved Back will take over. So we're trying to draw the strengths from both companies to get into that.
So like you are entrepreneur in this hospitality industry. Do you think that right now we are going to see more of such brands, or probably more entrepreneurship coming into the hospitality industry, or is it going to be the legacy brand which is going to rule India for a very long time?
It's a difficult question to answer, Prashant, because it's a difficult space to operate in.
Yes.
It's not easy, the gestation periods are very, very high, but it's also a glamorous space. So you have lots of people coming in every, you can see so many people foraying into most big real estate companies have a hospitality, division that comes in, and then they realize that they're not able to fully run it. But there are also good families who are coming and they're also running it well. But like I was telling you before, it's actually in a family business, it depends on how well as a family you're able to take it forward, because there are a lot of complexities in a family business. You need to work with different members of the family. And I think if that is strong, no matter hospitality, wherever you go, I think it's going to be successful wherever you go, as long as the family unit, the core of the family are getting along well with each other, are capable people, and then irrespective of hospitality or anything. So in that sense, I see a lot of good families, emerging families who've got this right, and who are in Kerala especially. There are lots of very, very nice, good families that the younger generations have really gelled together, have brought in outside help, and have grown bigger. So if they decide to get into hospitality, even that's going to be a success.
So one thing that I would like to ask in terms of hospitality as an industry in India, how do you see it in coming days now? You have seen last 30 years of hospitality, how we have emerged, and like India is right now in a very powerful state. We are like fifth economy. We are doing G20 summits and all of this. What do you sense about hospitality in coming 4-5 years?
Hospitality, it's if you there's a lot of scope of hospitality. Like you said, it's the fifth largest economy. People are traveling. We have such a big domestic population. I mean, in terms of this thing, which holds us really well. We felt that during the pandemic. I mean, in 2019, 2020, when the whole world was closed, our domestic market was good enough to sustain us much better than what we ever expected. Whereas our property in Botswana, like for a country like Botswana, which is 99% foreign tourists coming, there is no domestic market to speak of over there. And we had a little bit more difficult time sustaining Botswana than India. So when you look at India, I think there's a big scope. It's only going to get better, because as more and more flights come into India, like for example, our inbound travel, what we refer to as people coming from outside of India, we don't even get as much travelers as those guys who go to Sri Lanka, which is 100th our size. That's what it is. So there's a huge scope, for inbound travels as we become bigger.
Because the GDP is growing, people have the disposable income more.
Not just that we are becoming more of a global superpower. There are much more flights coming in. There's much more exposure. There is much more, there's much more knowledge about India and everything. Everybody wants to come to India. And then, of course, we have good tourism policies and everything. I know there's a lot more work to be done, but the G20 summit just happened over there. In fact, in Hampi, we were fortunate enough. Our hotel was hosting the G20 for a period of 7 days. We hosted the Sherpa meeting and the working group meeting, and Mr. Amitabh Kant, to everybody, all the delegates. We were doing it. We were doing it entirely. We did all the 7 days. So because of all this, there's a lot of exposure, and India is well poised to take over that. And I mean, when I look at it, I was just talking to someone just after pandemic, when you saw India in the middle, I mean, I know we like to keep talking bad and, talking about how bad our politicians are, but India was doing well. If you saw Sri Lanka, they were in the dumps. If you saw Afghanistan, Pakistan, China, Bhutan didn't open until September 2020. Yeah. They didn't open their doors, to tourists as well. So I feel very privileged to be in India. I think we're doing really well. We have good leadership, and in the hospitality industry is also going to grow because of the growth generally in India. So it's a good space to be in.
I hope good talks. I think let's talk about the bad thing about hospitality now. Is this industry has a problem, as per you say and you see? What is the problem that you look at right now as the biggest that everyone unite, or probably government should solve for hospitality?
There are there are various issues that I think which would come. I don't think it's a problem with hospitality as such, but generally our country, it becomes a little difficult place to travel to. our PR, and it becomes a little more they look at it as a tough country. If you look at it outside, they look at it as a tough country to travel to, as opposed to Japan, which is an easy country to travel to. So the infrastructure and the ease of travel, and the taxation, we are one of the highest taxed countries with respect to tourism. So one of the reasons why Sri Lanka gets a lot more business is not because they have better products, just that our pricing is very high compared to Vietnam or Sri Lanka or one of all these countries. So there are some 3 or 4 issues that are there, which is stopping a lot of business to come to India.
I think opening up a hotel is also a task, because you need to get so many licenses, so many permissions. There is no single window that you go in. And this restricts a lot of people to come into this business if they want to. How do you think that construction of a hotel is going to be feasible in coming days? Is it the cost, because you're constructing a lot of hotel? Is the cost has gone up of constructing a hotel, or is it now going to go down?
I don't think the cost is going to go down. It's always going to be high. It's very expensive. It's gone up, like from Hampi when we constructed it to now when we're having estimates about Mandu. It's gone up. I mean, the cost of construction, the cost of materials, everything has gone higher. So that barrier to entry is obviously very, very high when you're looking at hospitality players coming there. The other thing is the bureaucracy. The ease of business. You hear that ranking, and we are quite low in that. It's not a I would say it's not a huge priority sector for any state government other than, say, Kerala, which gets a lot of their economy running through tourism. Through a lot of the other states, it's not a very priority sector. That's one of the other issues with respect to hospitality. That the permissions take a lot of time. We have to deal with the government and get the permissions. Of course, they have their protocol, and by the time we get a permission, we have lots of other things that happen. And so building a hotel is a tough job, and that might be one of the impediments to hospitality sector growing at that level. But then speaking of that in a kind of underhand way, it's a good thing, because you don't want an over booming of hospitality as well. If you go to a place like Munnar or Shimla, I mean, you can see it. You can see it with your own eyes. What's happening there?
I've been to both the places.
I've my brother got married to a girl from Shimla, and we went to Shimla for the first time. All I'd ever read about it was the summer capital of the British, and I went there, and it was crazy. I've never seen anything like it. And then I thought that they should have. That's why if you see a place like Kabini has got this thing called carrying capacity. So they've determined the carrying capacity that place can have. So you can only have 8 hotels there. So we need some kind of regulation like that. We have some regulation like that. So each place has a carrying capacity, has a certain number of people that can actually go into that place. And you have to define that. You have to have proper regulation there, and that's how you can actually grow. And actually, the good thing with carrying capacity, maybe you have lesser hotels, but each person coming there pays higher. That is good for the economy as well. Lesser people, higher. It's basically called high value, low volume tourism.
And then people also want to go. They line up, they plan everything. And I think India is, as a country, we learn from our mistake, but we learn very quickly. What we did with Himachal. And there's a lot of pilgrimage places like Vaishno Devi to Kedarnath. All of these incidents taught us. So now you go, there is X amount of people who can go for Vaishno Devi Yatra, and then you have to go for next day. Because that is the amount of people that defense can handle there. So if there is casualty, you can run for rescue and all of this. So they know X amount. So this like you said it right. I think every place that is going to come up should have this capacity check on this, that you don't overcrowd it.
Correct. If you have a carrying capacity, it benefits everybody. It benefits even the final tourist who's coming there, who probably may not be able to go this week, but will be able to go the next week, like you said. Who puts inside, but when he goes, he knows that there's a thing that's good for the ecology as well. We spoke about sustainability and things. So when I went to Munnar, I mean, in that lake there were about 50 buses and about 100 cars. And I can't imagine that experience was good even for the people visiting.
Yeah, I know. I went to Munnar. I chose a hotel which was out of the city, because for what I went in, I wanted to see God's own country, and I took a special holiday for my own self. I was traveling with one of my friend, and there were 2 males, and I was traveling. I wanted to see mountains, the things that, and then I have to book a hotel which is outside the city where there's no crowd. And then in the morning when I walk up to the window, then I can see the cloud, the valley, and then can have a cup. And this is what I wanted. And I think this situation is most of the tourist place which is now in hype, where a lot of hotels have opened up. You open up a window, you will see next hotel. That's what the idea of tourism has become for everyone.
Yeah.
A room in a nice place. And if you're going for a temperature, you can fix it in your room with the AC.
Yeah.
So if you're going for the view, and then of course, like what you said about Hampi, about all of these places, they are still very raw.
Right.
And now people are looking for raw places. Like I said, I was looking at one of the podcasts of Make My Trip owner, Deep Kalra. He said, if you want to go any place and see a beach, please go to Havelock Islands. And it's still very raw, very rich. You can get these kind of views and the white sand. So I don't know when the government is going to stop. But I think that's the right way of doing it, to preserve the things that we are still coming up.
Correct.
Right. So how do you think that we will have more such spaces already identified by the government that is going to become crowded in future? Or are you guys looking, because I see all the places that you told me, which is going to be in future destination for Evolve Back, I have no idea about it. And I think outside in northern part of India, they don't know Karnataka or any other place very well. I was clueless about Kerala's beauty. When I went into Alappuzha, Alappe, and all of these places, I said, no, this is some nice place. But then when I was in Kerala, a lot of people told me that what you're seeing is everyone else saw. You go to some other places, and they gave me few names, and these are the places that you should go and visit.
Okay.
So do you guys sit down and identify these kind of places that where we have to go and look for hotel land?
Yeah, of course. I mean, we travel ourselves extensively. Like me, myself, I've traveled, and we're always on the lookout for these kind of hideaway places. I've been to places like Myanmar and, of course, Vietnam and everywhere. I've been to all these places, and we're constantly looking for these kind of hideaway kind of places which are away from the beaten track and away from the crowd. So my uncle, everybody, we look for these kind of places. Like my uncle's been to Tanzania, Kenya, everywhere before we shortlisted on Botswana. So we're always looking for these kind of hideaway kind of places which are off the beaten track and off the usual sector. It comes with its own challenges, because you have to build the market from the. It sounds nice, but there is no flow. There is no usual flow. So when you build the hotel, you have to market a lot, and you have to build it. So that takes time.
Yeah.
So financially, my finance team will be like, yeah, all this looks great, but by the time you get a sustainable, so it's a little bit of a
investment is huge, and they have to wait.
Yeah, wait, because you don't have a flow you don't have a flow there. Like if you build a hotel in, say, Goa, you have a kind of flow. You have the airport. You have people coming in from Bangalore to go on a weekend. At least you have a bit of a captive market there too. Already take advantage of that. So it's a bit of give and take. But for us, we are willing to go through that to give that experience.
You basically don't choose a destination. You create a destination by building a hotel out there.
We tried. Yes.
Yeah. So if someone has to go to Botswana, I think it's your hotel, your resort, which will drive them to go there. Like what Aman does.
Yeah.
So there are a few questions that is very personal. I'm intrigued to ask this. How do you guys do? Do you guys build laundry in place? How you get the water? What are then if you are building a resort, you have to build road too. These are the things that you guys also do for building up when you are planning a resort?
Yeah, of course. I mean, because our resorts are so far away in rural areas, of course, we have to take care of those 300 staff who I said in Cook are, already going to be there. So they have to have the facilities there. So we build those things along with the hotel, right? So like, for example, in Hampi, like you said, we had to struggle for a lot to get road access because it is right in the middle of this thing. So we've come into an agreement with the irrigation authority. So all these permissions take time. So we've got a nice road now building into our property, so that we had to get through to them. So yeah, building hotels in these faraway places, you have to take care of all these other ancillary facilities as well, because staff need a place to live.
Yeah.
Right. So you need to give them, and when they're so far away, they need recreation because they need to.
Yeah. Otherwise, it's a job and just
relax outside, as opposed to a hotel here in Bangalore. You could after that go for a movie or whatever. So you have to think of a whole lot of other dynamics when you're building in these, far-flung areas, because you need to keep your staff motivated. You need to keep them happy. You need to keep them occupied. So then, like you said, laundry. You don't have any kind of laundromat or anything nearby. So we have our own laundry units in all our properties. We have our huge laundry units, which we again try to be sustainable by the effluents and all that. Then we have our own sewage treatment plants everywhere, because all that sewage that's coming, that's getting flushed out from your toilet, or the waste food from your plate, we have ways to recycle all that waste. So it has to be a self-contained unit, the entire property. So we take care of all of that when building a hotel, not just the hotel and the front office. We have to look at how we dispose waste, what we do, the reverse osmosis. And then if you actually go to any of our properties, you can actually see the back areas. You'll see how waste is processed into manure, or how the water is processed, the water that you flush down from your toilet, which is actually wastewater. We have a recycling plant where we recycle it, and then we use it for gardening as well. So the water that comes from your shower goes through a process, and then it goes for gardening. So there are many, many things like that.
So much of planning.
Yeah, so much of planning that needs to go, especially when you're in this far-flung area. When you're in a city, you have the drainage, you have the Kaveri water coming in, and you have that. I mean, they have their own issues. I would say that running a city hotel is a piece of cake, but the challenges are very different.
Yeah, you don't have to design everything to come back to you, because then everything is taken care by already. A lot of hotels are already there. You are the first one getting it.
Yeah.
You have to build everything from scratch. What are the few things that you do for employees to keep them on the toes to working in the remote locations like these?
We have a lot of employee engagement, things. One is we have our own, every hotel has our own staff, facility, which is, we try to keep it a little away from the property, because, you'd want to be a little away. So we have that, and each of those things, we give our employees depending on their seniority, like the married people need a married quarters, whereas the bachelors who come in and this is their first job, they can stay 2 people in a room. We give them the correct washroom facilities. We give, the uniforms have to be clean. So we do all that. And of course, the usual things like recreation, like your Wi-Fi and everything. Then we have all these community games, experiences like that, those kind of things. We encourage families to come and visit them. So we give them places for their family when they come.
Wow.
So we try to do all these things. But yeah, of course. I mean, there are many things like that. Movie nights, we have these games, sports, things like that. So whenever we get a chance, we try to get them to bond, together. Yeah. Then, of course, one day they move away from there. They go to the city, and they have a good time and come back. So we do these kind of things, because especially in that kind of area, you need to, especially in a place like Kabini, which is the nearest town is 2 hours away. You need to, and in Kabini there are 37, 40 rooms, and there are 3 or 4 people. There are 160 staff there for 40 rooms, right? So you need to keep them engaged, things. So that's another challenge that we face. But it's good. Some of them also like it because they're far away.
Yeah, they're in peace. But I think too much of peace sometimes gets boring.
Yeah, absolutely.
At least for me.
Yeah, for me too. I love my properties, but Bangalore is my home. Yeah. I like to be in Bangalore. I like to go there and come back.
Yeah. So one last question and then we'll wrap it up. So I just want to ask, if you have to give an advice to anyone who is going into hospitality business, or someone who want to build hotel, want to, or maybe change, what should they keep in mind while just trying to try their hand? Because startup is now a culture where everyone want to do something for their own. If someone want to try their hands on to hospitality and want to emerge like a brand like you, what should they keep in their mind?
I think you should, especially, I mean, I can only talk about leisure hotels, hotels where people are coming to spend a holiday as opposed to a city hotel. Leisure hotels, if you're coming into leisure hotels, I think you need to know that there is a market for it. You need to, because the people in cities are stressed and they are going to, but the leisure hotels need to give those experiences that are really out of the world. They need to give very, very high quality experiences so that this person really feels refreshed after the holiday. So you need to look at, other than the rooms and this thing, you need to look at this. And then one thing I would try to tell them is that lots of people say that, okay, this property is just half an hour away from the city, or that this land that I have is just 1 hour or 2 hours away from the city. While that looks like a good advantage on the face of it, we feel properties need to be, to get a real break, you need to be about 5 hours away from the city, right? Which looks like a big drive and everything, but that's what people are not telling you on your face, but that's what they want. They want to feel like they've gone a little away and into something else. So that is something all our properties, we try to be at least 5 to 6 hours away.
Proper escape from the city.
Proper escape from the city, because it's very easy to get consumed. Oh, this is just half an hour away. It's great. I'm half an hour away. I don't feel I've left the city.
Yeah,
So, we look at the leisure places and these hideaway places, going back to our thing on hideaway places. We'd like to be a bit away from all the major cities.
Thank you, Thomas. I think it was great listening to the story of Evolve Back and your entire vision for the hospitality. I would like to catch you some time again.
Thank you, Prashant. Thank you for
Thank
you.
you.
You are watching biggest hospitality podcast by a hotelier. Stay tuned. Follow us for more.